All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to this week's DSS Break. And thank you so much for joining me. We're here live every week to talk about data science experiences and best practices with leading data professionals in a 15-minute break. And I'm Anna Anisin, the CEO and founder of Data Science Salon, and I'm streaming here live from our headquarters located in the heart of Miami, right next to the Design District. And this week, I'm really excited to do a special segment that's covering, celebrating Women's Month. And I'm sitting down with Eve Psalti, who's a principal group manager at Microsoft. And she has over 20 years of experience leading business development, sales, marketing teams in really high tech companies. And she's on board of multiple organizations that are dedicated to elevating women in tech, which is really awesome. And I'm really too excited to have you here and hear about the initiatives that Eva's working on and to help women really start a career in STEM. So thank you so much for joining us, Eve, for the special break.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. It's a true pleasure to be here.
So I know that let's just go ahead and dive right into your experience of 20 years in technology. And I think, I've looked at your background and you've been at some really really large companies. So I'm sure you have some really interesting experiences and great stories to share. But maybe you could tell me a little bit about your background and your journey of how you got to where you are today.
Sure, absolutely. So I've been in the technology field for, 20 plus years, and technology has rapidly evolved in this 20 years. So I had to kind of really gravitate in an ever evolving path, if you will. When I went to school, for computer science, we were doing things like COBOL and BASIC, things that don't really exist right now. So, if anything, I think, the common thread, I guess, in my career is that I constantly had to change, evolve, learn new things in order to adapt to a really rapidly evolving industry. And initially, I started actually in startup organizations, and I really enjoyed that because you can do a lot of different things. You can have your hands in multiple areas, which was really great. And then I kind of started with the Microsoft team, and I had the opportunity, because it was such a large organization, I had the opportunity to do a lot of different things, from sales to marketing to business development, strategy, and then as kind of like the AI area really was evolving, then I gravitated towards that space, and I started doing a lot of work for the education sector and how AI can really help different teams in higher ed and K through 12. And then I left Microsoft. I was heavily recruited by one of the competitors. I was with the Alphabet team and the Google Cloud organization for about 4 years, working again in the AI space. And 2 years ago, I came back to the Microsoft AI engineering team, where we're doing a lot of amazing stuff, especially now with our collaboration with OpenAI. And so it's been, it hasn't been, I guess, a direct path. It has been a meandering path.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, Microsoft got you back. So it's, no, I mean, I think it's great. That's a really awesome company to be a part of. And I'm sure being part of a huge company for a long time is, like you said, you can wear a lot of different hats, especially if they give you the opportunity, right? And I think Microsoft and maybe other companies like IBM or HP, they give people opportunities to move around. And I think that's really awesome to do that. And also, I think those kind of companies, and Salesforce too, I think they also have more strict guidelines of hiring more
Mhm.
women, right? So
Yeah,
which I
exactly.
think with startups it's a little bit different, which is a little bit harder, right? So but I think those companies have such strict guidelines, and I think that's really great to be a part of that. And I know that you're also on a lot of different boards to support women in tech, which is really great. And what do you see? And again, that's why I started talking about recruitment, because right now we're still seeing less than 30% of women in tech. And like if we look at like even the higher positions and even executive women in tech, it's like literally I just was reading a chief article that came out from chief, and they were saying it's like shrinking actually versus like unfortunately it's like really low. I think it's like less than 5% or like 3%. I don't know, you would know better the numbers,
Yeah,
but it's
it's
really.
close. Yeah, I think it ranges between 2 and 5%, and it is not growing. You're absolutely right, which is really alarming.
So yeah, so maybe we could talk a little bit about like why that is. And I feel like right now it should be growing at this point, right? Like where
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are now, and especially if people like yourself that have been in the industry for 20 over 20 years, and I have been in the industry for almost the same amount of time. And like I feel like we're still not like when I started out, we're still kind of in the same spot. Like
yeah.
so I wonder, yeah, maybe you could tell me a little bit about from what you've seen and on the boards that you said, and kind of from the perspective of a large organization, like what is going on with this, right? Like
Yeah, it's a
what
complex issue. You're absolutely right. It's rather complex because we see the juxtaposition of more women being kind of like a part of the STEM fields. So, really getting trained into the science, technology, engineering, and and mathematics fields. But we don't see the percentage kind of exponentially growing. And then you're right, as we look at the leadership levels, this is becoming like a very low single digit. And there are a lot of reasons. It's a very complex issue. I think a couple of things that I would point out is we still have some gender biases and stereotypes. These stereotypes start very early in childhood. I want to believe, because I've done a lot of work in the ed tech and the education space, that we're changing this. We're seeing more girls, getting really working with STEM. But I think we need to continue really breaking down these gender biases as we look at, nationwide, and as we, see things at a global level.
right.
Also, something that you hit on as well, it's the lack of role models. Because women are underrepresented in tech leadership positions, we have fewer visible role models. So even if girls or young women are entering the field, they don't have a lot of others to look up to. And we need more of these. We need more mentors. We need more support for them to help them really advance in the field.
Right. Yeah, I feel like we even have less role models now than we had because when I was like, and I was in the Silicon Valley in the, the 2000, like the early to like the
Okay.
2010s, and like they had, at least they had Marissa Meyer, and they had some other women that were, Sheryl Sandberg, and they had
Yeah.
some women. Now I feel like there's not. I mean, I don't really see as many, so that female leaders out there. So I feel like, yeah, you're totally right. I
Yeah. And also I see like once we get women and into the positions, like we have to really take a look at the hiring and promotion practices. This is a conversation that I have within my own team, within my own organization. And I see a lot of unconscious biases that lead to fewer women getting hired, fewer women getting promoted. So, from a career development standpoint, we see a lot of gaps. There are ways to safeguard this, and I've talked about this. How you can change your hiring practices. You can have more women interviewing other women. You have to be more intentional in how you recruit women, the colleges and the spaces that you really go and find them, and also have a very unbiased and upfront approach to how you recognize their progress and how you promote them. Because I think a lot of women might not toot their own horn the same way that others do. So we need to make sure that we really help them from a culture change standpoint. So workplace culture is really, really key to make sure that we don't provide and we don't build a culture that is unwelcoming to certain groups, not only women, but in general. And then we're mindful about long hours, how competitive and cutthroat the environment might be, which a lot of people might take pride on, but I don't think that's a healthy space. And also the lack of work-life balance, which we see more and more. I think we've seen it during the pandemic, where the lines of working and living kind of blurred, and that eats into the balance that women are that have families and personal lives and other interests outside of work need to balance.
Right. So, and I think that also kind of leads into the issue, the management situation, because I think a lot of women tend to leave the workforce because of that,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't really feel like they're going to be like promoted or appreciated, or their boss is not going to be flexible with their hours, right? So they're the
Yeah,
ones that are leaving versus like the man and the family. So I feel like the workplace culture is a huge part of this, of like
absolutely.
really keeping women on board.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We need to find ways to avoid high rates of burnout and turnover, and we can really help women and other groups, right? It's not only for women to really thrive in tech careers. They do have the knowledge, they do have the education, they do have the work ethic, they do bring the critical thinking, the innovation, but we need to make sure that we provide an environment where they can actually thrive.
Yep, no, 100%. And I think, maybe now that we know all these things that we need to do, what are kind of some of the current things that are out there now that, people can do really to elevate women, or, really be a part of, to kind of make a difference and move the needle?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that I think we can all pay attention to and be a part of. And I highly recommend to all the women that I mentor and I coach, or women in my team. First of all, I would really highlight, or I would recommend that women get involved in technical communities like the
Mhm.
data science salon. I think this is a great way to connect with other professionals, to connect with other women, share knowledge, share the experience that they have, and start to build and extend their networks. There are a lot of different groups like that. There are women who code, girls who code, women tech makers, DSS is one of them. So it's a great way to really start building that community of trust.
That's right. Yep.
And the other one that I've seen, and this might pertain more to larger organizations, but many tech companies right now have implemented diversity and inclusion initiatives to attract and retain more women in tech and to train existing teams around unconscious bias and diverse hiring practices and implementing mentoring programs. So, if you're in a large organization, I would really recommend understanding what these programs and initiatives are, and making sure that you're taking advantage of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, for sure. And I think for just to step in for the
yeah.
smaller organizations, you can also find these resources online and
Oh,
you
exactly.
can implement them into your organizations as well. So, I think it's not like, I feel like it's an can be an excuse, right? That if you're a little organization that you don't have these things.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
There are a lot of resources out there. And
yeah,
also, I think there are a lot of tech conferences, events. We have events like the Grace Hopper,
yeah.
or, there are Women of Silicon Valley. Like, there are a lot of different events that I think, again, it provides a really great way to connect with others, learn from others, share best practices, um, and also events that can be focused on professional development, like training, or training not only on the tech side but also training on leadership, on management training, coding boot camps, career development workshops. I think there are a lot of resources there that I would definitely, that even I, like, I've been around for, like, 30 years at this point, and I still look for new opportunities to learn, to connect, to understand how, others view things. And I think it really helps to be a lifelong learner in this space.
No, 100%. And I think that's why you've been so successful, because you've done that. So I think that's really great advice. That yes, you should always look for new things and new ways of doing things and meeting new people and seeing what people, kind of innovative things are out there and really being part of those communities, right? That
Yeah.
I feel like there's more help out there than people realize sometimes, right? So I feel like, yeah, it's really just Googling. I think the start is just Googling something and,
Or
you know,
banking. Yeah.
yeah, or being, I know you Microsoft, of course. Yeah. Uh, and what is your advice for young women aspiring in career tech? I know that we just talked a little bit about, some events and stuff that people can go to, but maybe some of the other things that they can take advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of building your own network. Again, connecting with other women in tech, joining tech communities, attending events and conferences. I think it's the concept is to build a supportive network of peers and mentors that can help you with your career growth and development. Also, if you're early in your career, I would definitely look for internships, for apprenticeships, for entry level kind of opportunities that will give you that, the set of practical skills. It will help you build your resume. This is really, really key. You can have the most prestigious degree of all times, but if you don't have that on the job training, you're disadvantaged. So not everything will be learned at school. I want to point this out. I think the world is changing so rapidly, and the tech world in specific, we see it now with all the advancements in the AI space. So getting that practical set of skills is really invaluable.
Right.
And then also there are some kind of like, I would say, I don't want to call them softer skills, but it's more the attitude that I think we have to be more mindful of. So I want to encourage everyone to be very confident, to believe in in themselves, to believe in their abilities, to not be afraid to speak up, to share their ideas, object to ideas that don't believe are the right ones. I think we need to find our voice, and we need to really make it to normalize the fact that we have a voice and we will raise it if we need it's appropriate. So finding the right mentor, or actually a couple of them, and coaches to open doors for you, and also to help you either gain or extend that voice of yours, can really help with career development.
No, I agree 100%. And I think joining some of those events and groups will help you find those people that are open to doing that, because I think, again, in
Yeah.
my career, that was probably one of the hardest things. Again, this was a really long time ago, but it was hard to find those mentors because there wasn't, again, as much of a connection and community out there just in general. But I think now it's definitely, if if you just ask, a lot of people, are out there that are interested and they have some time to dedicate to help women.
Absolutely. And these
So
leaders or coaches or mentors don't even have to be in your field. They can be leaders that you admire. They can be innovators that you aspire to. They can be from different fields. And I think this is what will make you a more rounder kind of like, individual at the end.
exactly. And then later on, you could mentor yourself and, give it back to
Absolutely. You
somebody
pay it
else.
forward.
Yeah. So no, and the one last bonus question, we're almost at time now, but what is kind of an article that you've seen recently that you found interesting or that's related to what we're talking about that you'd like to share?
I would like to share a resource. Actually, I was reading a couple of articles that did not share the right stats on career growth for women. So, I'm trying to kind of like end on a positive note because by definition, I'm an optimist. So, a great resource that I want to share is the code.org. Team. It's a nonprofit organization that offers free coding courses and resources to K through 12 students and educators. And they have specific programs for underrepresented groups, which is really key to provide equity in the space. And I truly believe that, in order to make a difference, we have to start early. We need to focus on the next generation and providing the right circumstances for these students and their educators to all become literal in computer science, which is going to be the baseline. I don't think computer science will be an elective as we go forward. This will be a prerequisite like English and math and other things. So Code.org is a great way. It's a free set of resources for everyone to learn how to code. So it's democratizing the effort. And it's a great way to reach to communities and groups that might not have these opportunities otherwise.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, we'll share that. Yeah, no, it's a really great resource. Thank you so much for joining us today, Eve, and for sharing your experience with us. It was a pleasure to
Thank
have
you.
you. And also, you were part of a really great conversation and a panel at DSS ATX 2 weeks back. And we actually just shared that and we'll share it again here. It was a really nice conversation, too. So thanks for being part of that. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up. And I hope everybody else has a wonderful rest of the week. And we'll see you back here again next week. And thanks again, Eve.
Thanks, Anna. Bye.
Bye, guys.